Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. All right. So dear researchers, teachers, MA students, BA students, colleagues, and all participants, on behalf of the Department of English and American Language and Culture, I would like to welcome all of you to our webinar, Enhancing Research Skills and Culture today. Dear teachers and participants, Neil Armstrong defined research like this. Research is creating new knowledge. Therefore, researching skills are becoming more and more important in every aspect of life and seem to me like to be more crucial in today's academic world. Good morning, Mr. Nguyen. Learners, can I continue? Learners, especially those at postgraduate levels, are in need of equipping researching skills to make their learning more productive in general and to prepare for their MA thesis in particular. However, many of graduate students have difficulties in many steps, such as identifying research problems, collecting resources, analyzing data, and coming up with useful solutions for their topics. Understand these worries and concerns, we organized the webinar today with the hope that it will provide attendees with in-depth information together with detailed analysis and good advice on researching skills, including problem formulation, data analysis, data collection from skillful and experienced researchers. More than that, the webinar also aims to inspire undergraduate students and graduate students who are not a fan of doing research yet by introducing to you a very successful story thanks to pursuing a passion for research. Now, so together with me, we go through the agenda today. First of all, we'll listen to Associate Professor Dr. Nguyen talking about different types of researches in linguistics and education. Then, Associate Professor Dr. Thanh will introduce research methods in translation. Ms. Trang will continue to share with us her experiences of how to nurture a passion for research. Next, Dr. Huynh will highlight the strengths of MA program specializing in translation study at Huddersfield University. Finally, Dr. Tien will focus on quantitative data collection and analysis. Then webinar will end by the Q&A sessions. To start our webinar today, I think we should have an overview of different types of research in linguistics and education. This part will be presented by a very special person. He currently is the Vice President of Huddersfield University and the Chairman of SDSO, founded by Association of Vietnam Huddersfield Universities and Colleges. With training experience from more than 25 countries, his main expertise is building digital transformation competencies and providing consultation services to higher education institutions and businesses across Vietnam. He has published 26 journals, articles, and 2 books in computer-assisted language learning, cognitive linguistics, and language teaching methodology. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Nguyen, our key speaker today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Linh. Thank you for the kind introduction. A big good morning to all colleagues and friends. Can you all hear me well? If you can hear me, please say yes into the chat window. I just want to make sure that the audio quality is fine. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we are very happy to see so many people, get interested in research. Right now in the webinars, we have more than 80 participants, and the number is still going up. And I would also like to say thank you to the organizers of this webinar series, especially to Dr. Tien for arranging the agenda and giving the privilege of being the first one in the agenda. Now my time is really short. Now, could somebody give me the okay, screen sharing privilege, please? Okay, so my time is very short. I have about 10 minutes. So in my time slot, I'm going to very quickly give you an overview of the types of research in language education. And we will do that by going over the applied linguistic research training course that I have built for the TESOL Association of Ho Chi Minh City and STSO. This is a free research course that was developed originally during my time in the faculties of language education in Ho Chi Minh City University of Education, and then the contents, the quizzes, and the materials were gradually built up over the years. So I'm going to show you how you can get free access into the course later. Now, once you are inside the course, you will see all of the necessary content that can prepare students to begin with applied linguistic research. So what you can find in the first part of the course is some general introductions and fundamental of research, where you can find lectures. Now, if you go down here, you can see some of the screen recording, and they will be long, okay? But hopefully they are useful for those who want to have full lectures on topics like types of research, research questions, characteristics of good research, collecting data, ethical issues, and a range of the other things. So they are all coming up here in the second topic of the course, what is research? And then the next topic in the course prepare you for literature review, in which, of course, we spend a lot of time on preparing a researcher for referencing styles like APA, MA, and especially tools like Mendeley's Quynh for preparing references automatically. A very important part of this part is on how we can write a good literature review, and what makes a good literature review. Now, then, the major part will be on research designs and methods. Essentially, in all types of research, we can see three basic categories: quantitative research, qualitative research, and a mixed method. Okay, combination of the two in between. In language education, I think most of you agree. Most of the research will be in a second category. We try to combine both quantitative techniques and qualitative techniques to make our research strong, valid, and more reliable. So in research designs and methods, the focus will be on types of samples, research variables like independent variable, dependent variable, erroneous variables, and some other issues that we should take care of. And of course, thanks to the convenience of the internet, we have curated quite a lot of good video materials for our students to look at. Then going down, we start to introduce some of the essential statistics in applied linguistic research. For example, Pearson correlation is essential when you need to compare the scoring of teachers, especially when you are collecting speaking, writing data that are in nature subjective. Now, okay, in the next part of the same topic, because this part is too big, we break down into several subtopics. We start to discuss some of the research designs that are dedicated to linguistics. For example, ethnography research. Essentially, ethnography research is qualitative, and okay, yeah, it seems that I am still through on the line, right? Because somebody say, okay, Wang says she can't hear me. Now, if you can't hear me, please open the microphone and say, okay, we can't hear you because I'm not looking at the video conferencing platform right now. I'm looking at the screen where I'm sharing the course. So going back, ethnography research is in nature qualitative, and it is suitable if you are working with purely linguistic topics. Now, an ethnography researcher may spend months or years inside a community or with the research participants to make observations and field notes, and then do a qualitative report. Sometimes we can see ethnography reports in TESOL research. Now, case studies is also regularly used in language education research, and this is particularly popular for master thesis in TESOLs where we do not have the opportunity to collect data in many places, and by narrowing our study scope in a specific school or a specific case, we can find out also very interesting in-depth interpretation tools. So in case studies here, we introduce some of the basic principles of doing case studies and provide you guys with some of the sample case study reports. But my suggestion is, try to combine case study with the other times as a mixed method research in language education is always considered better. Action research is not much discussed in a master thesis or in doctoral thesis in applied linguistics, but this is the recommended types of research for, let's say, K-12 school teachers. Now, I don't think that action research is not as big as the other type of research, but the whole point of doing action research is to improve a procedure or improve your own teaching practice, and that's why it is more suitable for K-12 school teachers. Action research generally do not require too much complicated statistic procedures, and I think several years ago in National Foreign Language 2020 projects, there was efforts from the people in charge of the project to push action research in high schools in Vietnam. So if you are looking for some simple times of research procedure to improve your teaching practice, your own teaching practice, then action research is the way to go. Now, in the last two topics of the course, we talk about specific techniques in analyzing qualitative data, and we also shows how to use tools like NVivo and OneNote to categorize data and make interpretations from the themes. Of course, the big part of the training and also the hardest part, I think, is always about statistics and SPSS. So in the last topic, quantitative data analysis, we talk about the most popular types of statistics in applied linguistics, like chi-square analysis, t-test analysis, ANOVAs, and then we provide course participants with a lot of examples. Okay, so I think my time is running out. This is a quick overview of the applied linguistic research, and hopefully, it gives you some ideas about the types of research that we can use in language education. Now, if you want to get free access into this course, this is what you need to do. Please go to our association website, englishonline.com.vn. You can do it now, and click on create new course. Then you need to follow the instructions in this form to create a new account. You will get an email verification link, and click on the link to activate your account, and then log into our training platform. And once you are inside the platform with an account, then just search for research 2021. Okay, research 2021 in the search box. That will lead you to this one. Okay, apply linguistic research writing 4. Okay, 2021, and then click. It will confirm whether you want to enroll to the course. Just say yes. I have already confirmed that. And if you see the course banners and the images like these things, then okay, you are ready to go. Well, I think that's all for my 10 minutes, and thank you very much for the attention. Now the floor is back to the host, okay, Ms. Phương Linh. Thank you.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Ngoc for providing us with a lot of useful information. And I think that our participants today have had a clearer view of types of research in linguistics and education. If you are still not very clear, you can quickly register to the course. That's I think the link is in the chat box already, and then you can register right away. Thank you, Mr. Ngoc.
My pleasure.
Dear researchers and teachers, one of the most popular concentrations of English language study is translation. However, doing research is not easy for learners. It seems to be more challenging for learners of translation. Therefore, it will be very useful if we know more about the research methods in translation. We are going to listen to a lecturer of the Department of English and American Language and Culture, Schools of International Languages and Cultures, Huddersfield University. She has been teaching at higher education in Vietnam for almost 40 years. She has published dozens of journals, articles in contrastive linguistics, and 5 books in English linguistics. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Thanh. Ms. Thanh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning, Phượng Linh, and all of the audience.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Can you
Right.
turn
I'm
on your
sorry.
camera,
I'm terribly. Yes. I'm terribly sorry that there is some problem concerning my camera. So, Phượng Linh, would you please put the slide on the screen on behalf of my presentation? Thank you.
Yeah.
And how many minutes do I have? 10 more minutes again?
No, actually, you have 20 minutes, Miss Thanh. You have 20
Okay.
minutes. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my dear friends. Let me upload the presentation. Let me do this right now. And
Yes.
I hope that everything will be okay in a minute.
Yep.
My dear friends, dear Ms. Phượng Linh, I'd like to say a few words about research in translation. I'd like to for sure that each of you can see clearly everything on the screen. Is that accepted? Yes or no? Please say words, Ms. Phượng Linh.
Not yet, madam.
Not yet.
Yes, we haven't seen on the screen.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Miss Thanh, do you want me to show the slides for you?
Yes. So in order to save time, because I will talk directly on the words on the slides. So would you please do this for me?
Yeah.
Please?
Yes, Miss Thanh. Mr. Châu, can you make me the presenter, please, so that I can show the slide? Thank you, Châu. Yes, Miss Thanh, can you see the slide?
Not anything. It is only a black screen. I cannot see anything. I'm sorry. Because of the limited time, let me say something directly from the slide. And would you please follow me one by one slide very quickly? Yes, Miss Phượng Linh, please help me.
Yes, yes.
To sort things out, right? So slide 2, some focus. I'd like to say a few words about descriptive explanatory research using critical discourse analysis, CDA, and corpus linguistics, CL, before displaying how to write report on the results of a qualitative research. This course is the pragmatic process of meaning negotiation. Text is its product. The assumption of this course analysis, abbreviated to DA, is that language needs to be studied using naturally occurring texts and taking into account the context of production and reception. Critical discourse analysis, CDA, goes a step further than DA in considering critical as having distance to the data and as scholars doing research. In translation studies, the work of Hattem and Masson laid the foundations for the use of CDA. Since then, CDA has been used extensively to explore the issues of ideology in the translation of a wide variety of written genres. Now it's time for CL, Corpus Linguistics. A corpus is a large collection of authentic texts that have been gathered in electronic form according to a specified set of criteria. Corpora have been put into many different uses and could therefore be considered simply as a resource in linguistics. CDA and CL share three principles: the use of whole texts as a unit of investigation, the link between texts and their cultural and historical context, and the focus on naturally occurring language. Discourse analysts have tended to use qualitative techniques, and some scholars yield CL with the reliance on frequency counts. The initial focus on CL was to describe language performance as opposed to language competence by providing quantitative information on the distribution of linguistic features in particular genres and for different functions. In other words, CL was used to answer the question, how do people really use language? We may study how to translate a grammatical pattern, for example, in a quantitative and or qualitative way. Quantitatively, we search for frequency of each of its translated equivalents in a certain type of text. Qualitatively, we try to explain why such frequency occurs, or to identify the rules for the use of a number of most frequent translated versions, for example. While a corpus cannot explain why and how some most frequent translated equivalents occur, because this is the job of us as researchers, a corpus may provide us with the data to build an evidence base. And we have some open access corpora for you to get access to. And below is an example of how you are supposed to write a report on the result of a qualitative research. Let me draw your attention to the term qualitative. I do know that Professor Nguyen and then a little bit later, Dr. Tien will tell you something more about quantitative research. I hope that you are pleased with the following qualitative research, which is what I used to do. Qualitatively compare the English adverbial of time with the Vietnamese range of period time. That's the title.
Con gái thấy mấy thầy cô đang nói nè. Con thấy mấy thầy cô đang nói là con qua con nghe mấy thầy cô nói nè.
This is the title of one of my articles recently published overseas. First of all, you are supposed to write an introduction briefly, for example, in only one paragraph. The commercial note, have you had a Coke today, has been exposed to the public in Vietnam as bạn đã uống Coca-Cola hôm nay chưa? By maintaining the word order in English, the translated version is structurally ambiguous because hôm nay can also be considered as an adjectival to be the post-nominal modifier of Coca-Cola. In order to avoid such structural ambiguity, the Vietnamese version, hôm nay bạn đã uống Coca-Cola chưa, is recommended. This realization indicates that the adverbial of time, abbreviated to A of time, at the end of the English clause in question should be converted into the range topic of time at the beginning of its Vietnamese equivalent. The example shows that differences in the role of the adjunct of time and that of the range topic of time may lead language users to the risk of mistakenly translating the English clause with the adjunct of time. And this is the focus of this paper. Next come the aims of research. The research reported in this paper aims at looking for dissimilarity with regard to word order, translating into Vietnamese the English clause with one or more adverbials, including the adjunct of time. Secondly, possible case when native speakers apply the fronting of the adjunct of time in English clause. And last but not least, any potential change in the meaning they would like to convey with such fronting. And next come scope and procedure of research. In order to achieve the above mentioned aims, the research was done under the following procedure. Firstly came the search for examples of the adjunct of time, either standing as the only modifier or occurring together with another adverbial of the same or different type at the end of the English clause, which in turn either exists as a simple sentence or is embedded as part of a complex sentence of one type or another. Secondly, an American colleague of the researcher who is a volunteer visiting teacher at the university in Vietnam proofread with great generosity with all examples selected to guarantee that they are those that native speakers of English would normally say. Then the researcher tried her best to translate the selected examples into Vietnamese, grouping them into a number of categories as presented in the paper. Finally, up to 10 native speakers were requested to read for double check that the paper's selected examples are normal to them and answer one of or more of the following questions. And I will present the research questions a little bit later. And let me focus on the fact that the research started with the English clause containing the adjunct of time, which occurs in the form of a simple sentence and part of a complex sentence. It then shifted to be observed in a number of dialogues as utterances in tokens of simple sentences. The first research questions: when applying the front of the adjunct of time, as in 29A or 34A in the paper, do native speakers of English mean something different. The second research question is, respectively, how do 1A and 35A differ in meaning from 29A and 34A? And the last section of my presentation is on the case some meaning has been changed or not if the native speakers of English do apply the fronting. In general, the unmarked position for the time expression is at the end. Therefore, the fronting of the adjunct of time would be rather less common. The main difference would depend on topic emphasis. For example, each of the following pairs of sentences conveys basically the same message, but maybe there is a subtle shade of difference in meaning when the fronting of the adjunct of time is applied. The emphasis is on 29. The emphasis in 29A is on when the call will be made. As for 1A, the emphasis is on the action of calling as well as who will be calling. The emphasis in 35A is on the number of people. As for 34A, the emphasis is on the repetitive or ongoing nature of the activity. More specifically, sentences beginning with the time expression would be used in formal situations and thus are not very common. They have much more impact than those with an adjunct of time at the end. An example is the famous message sent to American paratroopers on the eve of D-Day. Tonight is the night of nights. This is part of an announcement made to an audience to add emphasis and importance to the time being mentioned and to the announcement itself. In everyday speech, sentences beginning with a time expression might also be used to place emphasis on the time so that it is not forgotten. Take the dialogue number 6 as an example. The first way to deal with this is placing the adjunct of time toward the end of the English clause as usual. This is the natural way, with no emphasis at all. We're going fishing on Wednesday and hunting on Thursday, right? This is the question. There is nothing which is emphasized in this question. But in the answer, Kevin would like to draw Jack's attention towards the fact that Wednesday is hunting and Thursday is fishing. So Wednesday and Thursday is fronted to the beginning of the very English clause in this case for a little bit emphasis. This is not the normal use, but it is very efficient when you would like to emphasize something, to remind the hearer of something special. And conclusion. It's time to come to the conclusion that, unlike Vietnamese, English does not distinguish the range of topic of time from the adjunct of time. For 34A and 35A are synonymous to the native speakers of English who have been involved in the research reported in this paper. There are few situations where English sentences would begin with a time expression, i.e., the fronting of the adjunct of time is marked in the English clause. It is a topic emphasis that determines the choice concerning the position of the adjunct of time. At the beginning of the English clause of the focus is the time being mentioned. And at the end of the English clause, if the interlocutor would like to focus on the action itself and or the person who does it. Since the unmarked position of the time expression is at the end, English sentences beginning with a time expression would be used in formal situations and thus are not very common. In everyday speech, however, native speakers of English may flexibly apply the fronting of the adjunct of time or not, because both are just accepted with basically the same message added by a subtle shade of difference in the meaning being conveyed. And thank you very much for your attention. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you again for your listening. Thank you. And back to the host, dear Miss Phượng Linh. Thank you, Phượng Linh.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Thanh, for sharing with us beneficial information. I think that our participants today have gained valuable knowledge of methods in general, and especially like your interesting research. Dear teachers and researchers, under being good at doing research can benefit learners a lot. It's not easy to be good at it, especially at the beginning stage of the research path. To develop research skills and to be confident in carrying out research, learners might need a lot of things, but what factors make undergraduate students become successful researchers? I would like you to listen to an alumna of Tran University. She had just received her master's degree at School of Education and Professional Development, University of Huddersfield, United Kingdom. Please welcome Miss Vũ Thị Quỳnh Trang and listen to her story.
Hello, good morning, Ms. Phượng Linh, my dear teachers, friends, and guests. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, Trang, but I can't see you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I would like to apologize that I am unable to turn my camera on at the moment because my laptop's camera was broken and I was in lockdown, so I could not manage to have it fixed. So hopefully it would not be too inconvenient for you.
Right.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's best
Hello, Quynh Trang.
that I
Hello,
have
Quynh
my
Trang.
slide.
Hello,
Yeah.
Quynh Trang. Can you wait a second? I'm waiting for the right to share the screen, to share the slide. Hello, thầy Châu. I haven't seen the authority for the sharing.
Mr. Joe said that like he made you the presenter already.
Yes, okay. So I think I should begin now. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank you very much for having me here today, and this is an eye-opening opportunity for me. So let's get started. So throughout 4 years at Huddersfield University, the university had provided me with lots of opportunities to enhance my researching skills. And the first opportunity I would like to mention is the subjects that are integrated in my learning path. So in year one, the students are taught academic writing and critical reading and writing. So these subjects are extremely important for me because we all know that there is a clear difference between writing in general education and in higher education. So these subjects would have students to understand this difference. Moreover, they would realize the importance of being able to come up with original thoughts and logical arguments. And moving to second year, the students start to do a group report regarding secondary data collection. And this is when they work together, search for papers of the same topic, compare, contrast such papers to come up with their own conclusion. But in year three, it starts to get a bit more challenging because in this time, each group does not only do literature review as in year two, but they also collect real data in their field and then provide original answer to the topic. So year one is all about raising students' awareness, but year two and year three are putting groups of students in real practice. And in the final year, I officially learned how to conduct a complete graduation thesis by myself. And experience gained throughout all these years have helped me tremendously in doing my master thesis later on. Please turn back to the previous slide, please. Thank you. One important point that enhanced the reliability and validity, the quality of Huddersfield University subjects is that all students' works must be uploaded on Turnitin to be checked for similarity index. So I could proudly say that all my works are original. And this is also just me and other students about integrity for life. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, Huddersfield University and its English department has also been known for its generous support to build the research culture. So besides the subjects that I was taught during other years, at Huddersfield, I was provided with numerous opportunities to enhance my researching skills. The first and most notable support is assisting students to join international conferences. So here's an evidence of me having presented at CamTSONT. For those who don't know, CamTSONT, according to the organization, is a premier professional development conference in the Asia Pacific region for professionals in the field of ELT, English language teaching, and related issues. So it has an average audience of about 1,700 and over 600 are international participants annually, and they are from more than 50 countries. So thanks to the support of my supervisor and other instructors in the English department, my work has been accepted to be presented in the symposiums and main conference. And what makes it even more valuable is that I were 100% sponsored by Hoa Sen University to attend both of the conferences in Cambodia. Next slide, please. Thank you. And besides, my supervisor, Dr. Ngoc Tien, has also helped my research to be published. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for your guidance. And I also would like to say that all of the instructors in my department are very supportive. So I believe that any students of our department can do it if they put in enough, will, grit, and actions. And next, for those who don't have much experience, they could always join suitable researching activities hosted by Hoa Sen University, such as annual student research competitions. On the right is a photo of a credit that me and my peers, my teammates, received when we were in year 2. And thanks to this competition, I have gained practical knowledge in doing and presenting my study. Moreover, our work was also financially rewarded by Hoa Sen University. Next slide, please. So, thanks to all of the years of guidance from teachers, thanks to the research culture of Hoa Sen University, and also its financial support, I was gradually becoming interested in conducting a study on my own. There are a lot of benefits I'd like to talk about, but if I need to draw a final answer in this presentation, it would be confidence. So the research experience made me more confident in writing my master thesis. As I have known about the procedure and methodology beforehand, I have more time to deal with the topic. And I would like to emphasize at this point is that time is very important in my case, because I only have about 4 months to do the thesis. And we all know that the master thesis is much more demanding and intensive than that of the bachelor level. So having more time means that I have a competitive edge over my peers. And this also leads to the second benefit, and that is developing emotional resilience. A little known fact is that doing study can trigger boredom, loneliness, and frustration. In fact, the study of Johnson and his colleagues in 2020 at Sydney University in Australia shows that 1 in 5 research students never finished a degree. So that is about 25%. And the situation is worse amidst the COVID pandemic, as the number rises up to 45%. And Professor Melbourne in 2019 pointed out that this is due to a complex mix of social and psychological factors. So those having emotional resilience, for those who don't know, this is the ability to emotionally deal with stressful situations. So those having emotional resilience is more likely to persist on this study. And for me, thanks to the experience gained at Hoa Sen University, I am very familiar with the research process, and I feel safe. So this supports my confidence and then partially develops my emotional resilience. And aside from direct benefits of learning researching skills, are there any other merits for those who does not wish to continue the postgraduate study? Because from my observation, most students choose to enter the market the workforce as soon as they graduate. So what is the point of having such academic experience? My answer is that it is also beneficial for bachelor students in general. The report of OECD in 2013 reveals that companies highly value employees with high critical thinking ability. In fact, this is ranked as the most important skill for candidates and even more important than problem-solving skills. So by doing projects, participating in research and conferences, and writing papers, I believe that students could gradually learn to see things in a critical way. Simply put, when they are assigned a task at the workplace, they know that they need to look at it from different perspectives to analyze and evaluate the task as well as the situation thoroughly before coming up with different solutions. So doing research is like constructing a base for their critical thinking. They know what to do and how to deal with the issue given. So becoming confident at work. So I know experience gained at Huddersfield University has helped me be more confident both at work and in postgraduate education. And I hope that other students would find the research opportunities at Huddersfield University useful as I do. Thank you. So now I leave the floor back to our lovely teachers and Miss Linh.
Thank you, Trang, for your inspirational experience. I think that your experience of developing your research skills will help participants, especially undergraduate students, to visualize a clearer way to enhance their research skills. So I know that many Huddersfield University students attend the webinar today. So if you have any questions for Ms. Trang, please keep it until the Q&A sessions, and Trang will answer all of the questions related to how to enhance our research skills at university. Thank you, Trang.
Yeah, thank you.
To continue our webinar, I would like you to listen to Dr. Huynh, who used to be the Vice Chairman of Ho Chi Minh City's Research and Translation Association. He has got a lot of real experiences in the translation field. He currently is the head of the Master of the MA English Language English Study Program in Ho Chi Minh University. Therefore, he is responsible for the program designs and management. Most importantly, he has a lot of speeches about translation field in other universities. Today, coming with us, he will show us how the MA program of English Language Studies at Ho Chi Minh University can help postgraduate learners gain experience of research in translation study. Please welcome Dr. Huynh.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Cô Phương Linh. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me well? I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, this morning we have heard a lot of important matters about doing research, and now I would like to change the atmosphere by having some words to introduce the MA program in Huddersfield University. You see, in the period of open door policy at present, recognizing the importance of foreign languages, especially English, Huddersfield University has applied to open MA program. And in 2016, the MA program was granted by the Minister of Education and Training. Our program has two majors. The first one is English language teaching, and the second one is translation studies. If we talk about lecturers, we try our best to invite, as in a lot of university, with highly previous experiences to manage our class, to teach in our class. Besides lecturers, we try to organize a lot of workshops and conference, and today we are performing our webinar to give real experience to the participants in the MA programs. To talk about translation study, I always feel proud that the MA program in translation study up to now is the only one in our country at the MA level. A lot of universities have the translation study, but just in the level of BA. And in Huddersfield University, we have the MA level. Isn't wonderful, everybody? And then when we talk about the strength of the MA program, I would like to mention some special courses in our program. The first one and the second one is about translation between globalization, localization, and translation in the digital age. We chose these two topics just because, as I told you before, we are in the age of open door policy to every countries in the world. So we want to emphasize on globalization and localization. And then we are in the age of 4.0. So digital is important. I just want to remind you that in the ELT major, we have another course for IT. And then in the translation, we have digital age. Besides the two courses, we have the research and translation studies. Yeah, right after Professor Dr. Minh Tran and talk to you previously, this means that we need to make a research, to do a research in translation study. It's wonderful for your thesis. And besides that, we are not only the learner participants, and then we become teachers in other universities, and then we have a subject, translator, interpreter training. We try to convey our experience to the participants to become a teacher of translation and interpretation in the future. Yep, just about 5 minutes to introduce some special notes in the MA program. And after that, yeah, maybe I give back to cô Phương Linh. She continue to control the webinar. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, cô Phương Linh.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for elaborate information. If you need more information about the MA program, you can directly contact Dr. Nguyen. Or Dr. Nguyen, can you type your email and also the website so that if participants today want to know more about the MA program, they can easily access the information?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Thanh.
Yeah.
So far, everyone, we have had an overview of types of research in linguistics and education, some specific methods in translation, some experience of enhancing researching skills. If you're still not very confident about starting your research right away, you should continue to listen to how to select a research design, how to collect data and analyze data from the point of view of quantitative research. I would like you to listen to the very new director of English Language Study, Schools of International Languages and Cultures, Tran University. He got an MA and PhD degree from Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University in Japan, and an MA in TESOL from Edith Cowan University, Australia. He has more than 15 years of teaching at various levels. He has published a couple of papers in Japan, America, and England, and joined numerous conferences around the world. Not only a successful researcher, he is also the initiator and motivator of our department. Please welcome Dr. Ngoc.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So can you hear me? Can you hear me well? If you can hear me, can you type in the chat box? Okay, if you can hear me, thank you very much for your sharing. So hopefully today we are talking a little bit about the quantitative data collection, and then we move to some basic knowledge about the quantitative data analysis. And if you feel interested in the quantitative research, you can give me like contacts so that we can discuss more later on. So fourthly, the question that why we should choose like quantitative research or qualitative research. And some people prefer like mixed methodology in the research. So mixed methodology, according to some researchers, is not a method, just only a combination between the qualitative and quantitative research. So selecting an appropriate research design will depend on the level of the knowledge of the researcher, whether the researcher is just like capable of doing in the quantitative or the qualitative or mixed, or depend on the level of the knowledge of the participant. For example, like if I would like to do a research on teaching for the children, young children, for example, at the kindergarten level or primary school level, so I cannot do the quantitative, just the qualitative, but the observation, for example, by interview. So depend on the nature of the research phenomenon. If I would like to get the opinion of like many research participants for one social issues, I will use the quantitative. If I would like to do research, for example, of some information to get in-depth knowledge about that one, I have to use the qualitative. Depend on the purpose. Ethical consideration, for example, lie in the interview face-to-face. So normally we understand very well about the participant, about the age, about the face, about like identities. So if we would like to avoid more about the ethical consideration, we would pick like quantitative one. Depend on the availability of the data. For example, like I would like to do a research on illegal migration, for example, of Vietnamese to some other country like England, for example, happening some years ago. I cannot do the quantitative research. The reason is that I cannot find enough research participants to do the quantitatively, so I just find like a couple of research informants, so I will choose like qualitative. Some of the reason like precision and cost. So telling about some idea coming from researcher why we should pick up the quantitatively. Firstly, we should use the quantitative research once we would like to do to gain the research phenomenon in which mean we get a large number of the research participants, sometimes like hundreds or thousands or even more. We measure variables. For example, age is one variable, gender is another one, teacher satisfaction is one variable, motivation is one, and we have some more smaller variable in the questionnaire. We would like to test hypotheses. For example, like telling about the language teaching, it is assumed that female teacher will be more successful than male teacher in language teaching. So I'm not so sure like whether this is correct or not in my teaching context. So I will do like a research to test the hypothesis in that one. We would like to estimate. For example, I would like to conduct a research at Washington University, but I cannot reach on the student or the Washington University student. So I would like to have some sampling. For example, let's say 500 or 1,000. So 1,000 or 500 will represent Washington University in general. Another idea coming from Snape and Spencer is that like this is almost the same, but normally like quantitative research when we have a limited time. So for example, like if I would like to do the qualitative, one interviews, for example, may take 1 hour for interview, but maybe like couple of hours for preparing and then couple of hours for transcription, for example, for typing, and then we had to run in the theming and running the coding and many more other steps for analyzing the qualitative. For quantitative, for example, we can go into the class and we can deploy the questionnaire and we get the report, the answer within, for example, 30 minutes, and we can get by like 30 research questionnaire. So normally in a limited time, so quantitative research is work better. And people like to test hypothesis and generalization. For example, if we can do like good sampling, we can pick up some university in Ho Chi Minh City, and the research can represent the students in Ho Chi Minh City in general. Quantitative data collection. So normally some characteristics of the quantitative data collection further address is 10 questions. For the qualitative, for example, for interval, normally we have like 3 or 4 or 5 maximum interval question, and then we have the probe question following. However, for the quantitative in the questionnaire, survey questionnaire, we can make it 30, 40, and or 50 research question there. I mean, it's variable. And we have a larger sample population. It is impossible, like for the qualitative to interview 100, 200, 300 informant for a study, single study, for example. But however, for the quantitative, we can reach even 1,000 research informants. It's not a problem, not a big problem. And however, for the quantitative, we have to understand or need to know what to be measured. For example, if you would like to do the qualitative research, so just go for the interview and do the reading for the methodology later and thinking about the ways of analysis later. But for quantitative, we have to be well aware of what we are going to measure, how we are going to collect data. Means we have to anticipate every step in the methodology before conducting the research survey, for example. And the number, for example, the data is coming to the number, not in the words. For the qualitative data, it is coming to words. For example, I will record the way people like speak, and I see the words to put in my data analysis. But for the quantitative, only number. Sometimes we can use the words, but however, the words need to be transferred into the number so we can import into the software for data analysis. So, some popular methods that the researchers often do for the quantitative data collection. Firstly, survey questionnaire. We can do the survey questionnaire through, for example, like normally people do the questionnaire face-to-face. Sometimes we can do via online. For example, we have a Monkey program, or we can have a Google survey, for example. We can have a kiosk survey. People go into the kiosk and do the survey, and then they leave. People can do through experiment. For example, I would like to implement a new teaching method to my students. So I have two classes. One is like I can call the control classes. Another one is experimental classes. So it's that we call experimental. And then we run, for example, t-test to check the differences between two classes. One is like that is no teaching method. Another one is for the new one, the one we would like to implement, so to check the differences whether like the new one can work well or not. Control, observation, and structure interview. We have three types of the interview. One is free interview, which come to see the informant, and then we just conduct the interview. We call this free. This is for the qualitative. Another one we call it semi-structure interview. For the semi-structure interview, so for example, like we have some questions in advance, we just follow some question, and then depend on the answer, we can explore more the opinion of the research informant. Another one for the interview, we call the structure interview, because some research participants, for example, they cannot read, they cannot write, so we should come and we should read the question, and then depend on like the answer, the report, and then we tick in the survey questionnaire. So we call the structure interview. The same to the observation, we have a free observation or we have a control observation. Control observation means that we observe and we tick, not we write. So this is control observation for quantitative research. Longitudinal study or poll, we can do the same. So for sampling, this is very challenging for conducting a research. Simple random. have some like advantages, but also some drawbacks for the simple random. For example, I would like to conduct a research on the student of our department, our live program. However, if I use the simple random, there's some possibility that like all the research participants in the sampling is fall into the year 1 or year 2 or year 3 or year 4, or maybe can come into like, for example, one stance or one concentration like translation and interpretation or English language teaching. So simple random working well, but sometimes like we have some risks within the simple random sampling. That's the reason why people use the stratified sampling. Stratified, for example, like at our department, we have like 70% of the students are female and 30% are male students. So I just like pick up like 30% sampling coming from the male and 70% coming from female. That's the reason why multi-stage cluster sampling work better in our case in Vietnam. Meaning, for example, like if I would like to do a research for opinion of the like private university on some issue, and then for example on the shopping habit or the reason why like student prefer to take the like private university instead of the public one. So in Ho Chi Minh City, we have 5 private universities. I pick up 1 private one. And then I know that, okay, and the second level is that like, I would like to understand the students represent all years. For example, like one group of students coming from the freshman, another group coming from the sophomore, one group from the senior, and one coming from the junior, for example. And then I pick up one group coming from the, for example, faculty A, and then one group coming from faculty B. Another one is like convenient sampling. For example, like I'm working at Washington University. It is more comfortable, more convenient for me to take like research for Washington University. So I use that one. We have like convenience. Snowball. I would like to ask my research informant to introduce. If I do not have the knowledge, I do not have any idea of who I'm going to research on. So we call it snowball sampling. The question of coming from many researchers is that like about the sample size. If I would like to do the research on, for example, like Washington University student, so how big is my sample size? Here, I put some way for you to do the sample size. The first one is Zamane formula. It's just famous, very famous, like coming from Japanese one. And this is one of a sample I have counted here for one of my previous researches. It's like the population is 13, a little bit more than 13,000 like teacher. The population so that I count. So the minimum number required for my research is 388. You can apply the formula for my research, for your research. Another one is coming from Quynh. You can looking for the research of Quynh in 1991. It's very famous for sample size. So we have N, the population, the sampling is 50 plus 8 for the multiple regression. For example, if I would like to do a research on the variable, the foster predicting or affecting the teacher working motivation, if I have a 10 predictor for the multiple regression, so I need to have like I have a 10 variable, I mean 10 predictor. So I have a 50, the minimum one, and I have a 8 multiply with 10 predictor. So I have 80 plus 50. So athlete is 150. And from my personal experience, the more the better for the quantitative research. Another one is coming from the link I put there, and on the right hand side I put, you can see like screenshot coming the website counting the research number, the sample size. So I just put 13,000 to make a comparison with the one I did before, and the result is that like for the population is 13,000 informant or participant, so the sampling, the minimum number 374. You can try for your research. Hopefully you can get some information. Now we move to the data quantitative analysis. I have around 10 minutes or 80 minutes to working on, and then we move to question and answer. So the main one, we use a questionnaire normally in our context to do the research. So I put here. So normally in Vietnam, people often use the Likert type scale for ranking. So I put here strongly disagree, neutral, agree, or neutral. Normally people usually neither agree or disagree. So we all have a literature review for like the scale. You can use 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a literature review to support for the scale that you would like to use for your research. So be careful. For example, like I would like to do a research on the teacher satisfaction. If I usually neither agree nor disagree, this is a safe answer. So for example, like there's some variable telling about like whether you are satisfied with the working environment in your working place. So to have the safe answer, the informant often pick up number 3, neither agree nor disagree. So sometimes we have to avoid that one, meaning that we have to move to 4 or 5, or not 5, 4 or 6 scales in a researching. After like we get from like the research questionnaire, we have to code, because we do understand that some software for qualitative data analysis, we can use, for example, NVivo. You can use NVivo software for the qualitative research. But for the quantitative research, normally in the social science and educational science, people often use like SPSS software. So SPSS software cannot understand the word, so we have to use the number. For example, code for the gender. If male, I code 1, females, I code 2. So in the research informant, so for example, like I can call like participant number 1. So this is a female, so I enter 2 into the SPSS software. So for example, marital status, we have a single relationship, depend on the situation. In Vietnam, maybe like we do not have to put like steady relationship. We do not put the marriage for the first time. Depend on the social context. In our situation, we can use, for example, sometimes, for example, in some contexts, if we put like, for example, gender, males or females, some research informant, they put leave that one missing because they do not want to claim themselves male or female. They would like to claim the other. So, however, if we put it like, for example, 1 is male, the second is female, and number 3, others, for example. However, while running data analysis, we have the problem. For example, let's say I have a 1,000 research informant. So I have a 700 is like male, and 690 is females, and I have only 10 others. So this is the numbers unbalanced while running data analysis. So this is a challenging problem. We have to be aware why designing the questionnaire or running the data analysis. After inputting into the computer, sometimes we have some problem. The problem can be like mistakes while inputting. For example, we have 1 is male, 2 is female, 3 is other, but we input like 4 or 5, not in the category. So we have that one like, this is our mistakes, typo mistake while inputting. So that's why we have to run for that error. Another error we can call this is like an outlier in the research. We input correctly, but for example, telling all the member, like the majority of the member of that university student satisfied with the learning program. But we can see that someone very specific one, just like 1, 2, 3 cases, like unsatisfied with the learning program of that university. So in the computer, they will consider that one to be the outlier in the research. If we would like to run some advanced, for example, like data analysis. For example, we have to remove the outlier out. That's why we have to running before analysis. We move to some basis one for the data analysis. It's a descriptive analysis. For undergraduate student, we should only require some, for example, for project one and project two, for undergraduate student at the university. It's just like descriptive analysis is okay. Even for our research, we have to run some like descriptive analysis. For example, we understand about, for example, like age, the age range of the participant, the employment status of the informant, for example. We have to run this one. And checking reliability. If you would like to publish your paper, so normally the reviewer, they would like to understand about the reliability of your research questionnaire. We have a 3 characteristics of the quantitative data analysis. It's the first one is validity. The second one, reliability. The third one, generalized ability. So, for example, for validity, we have some type of the validity. For example, content validity, like construct validity, for example. For reliability, we have some part of the reliability. For example, test retest reliability, internal reliability, parallels reliability. So depend on your ability, depend on the nature of the research, you can pick up one reliability to do that one. So here's a reliability, one example for running this one. So some other advanced like statistical text to use. So the first one, exploring relationship. So I would like to do research. So this is assume that teacher, those who are more satisfied with their job, they have a better performance. For example, this is like hypothesis or assumption. So I make a research question and then I collect the data and then I run and exploring the relationship. Is there any relationship between the teacher job satisfaction and performance? Another one, I do think that sometimes age, sometimes like marital status may affect about like teacher satisfaction and performance. That's the reason why I use the partial correlation in that one, in the running relationship. So I control the impacts, influence of some variable. In the research question number 2, is there a relationship between the teacher, job satisfaction, and work performance? Why I would like to control the teacher age or gender or marital status, for example. Here's some example. Here's running a relationship here, for example, but I would like to go into the multiple regression. The multiple, for example, here I have age is one variable, gender is 2, the second variable, and length services. I would like to understand about the like personal or demographics data have any prediction on the job satisfaction, for example. So I run the multiple regression. I will see which one contribute to the job satisfaction of the teacher, whether it is like ethnicity or qualification or position at work, and how large, to what extent, I mean, this one may affect to the overall job satisfaction of the teacher. Another one, factor analysis. We have a 50 variable in the questionnaire, and what we would like to do is like to narrow down. The computer will help you to look for the relationship. They will group variable together. And one example here is that like I would like to do research on the teacher job satisfaction, and I group, and based on the theory, based on the research, like we have like motivation theory, we have a 2 main variable. One is like satisfactory variable and one is dissatisfaction variable. And here, for example, like some variable that makes teacher dissatisfied in their job. The first one is payment. The second one is like, for example, like student behavior. For the payment, I have a 2 research question for that variable. The third one, the second one, variable behavior, I have like question number 3 and number 4. The higher one is the stronger one. The fourth reason variable makes teacher dissatisfied is like payment and then behavior of the learning, for something like that one. So here, some variable that makes teacher happy in their job. The first one is like, wow, students understand some concept and they think that the job they are doing is vital to the society. And we do not have a time to explain one. Some of that is one published already on the slide. If you prefer, I will share to you the slide. We will. Another one is like expiring for comparison. For example, I would like to compare between male and female on the choice satisfaction. So I use the t-test. I would like to do like experimental research between the control group and experimental group, and then I use the t-test this one. And the last one I would like to show it, we call this ANOVA. This is also like making the comparison, but not only male, female, but for example, telling about the marital status. We have a single, we have a marriage, we have divorce, we have in a relationship. We have 4 categories. So we have to use the ANOVA. We call this one-way analysis of variance. And here's some example for this one. And thank you very much for listening. And now I would like to leave the room to Nguyễn, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ngoc. Well, I think that a lot of information and very useful information. Like some people say here, your presentation is so informative. Thank you very much. So we will upload these slides on our website of the faculty. Is it right, Dr. Tien?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
We
so
will,
don't worry
definitely.
Yeah, so we will upload on our website, and then you can download from our website, everyone. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Tien. So far we have like all of the presentations already. And then now is the time for Q&A. If you have any questions, you can type in the chat box, or you can raise your voice and then ask. Our presenters are available here.
Yeah, so sorry. So can I would like to invite Professor Dr. Ngoc Phu, Minh, Thanh, Dr. Tai, and sorry, and Quynh Trang, my beloved student. I forget her name. Maybe I'm nervous. So to turn on the camera, so the participant can see your face and address you while making the question, please. Hello, Dr. Phu, Dr. Minh Thanh, Dr. Tai. Can you turn on the camera? So we have some face-to-face communication. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the listening. Hello. Okay, now we move to the question. Maybe like we need some more minutes for, okay, Quynh Trang, we understand about the case. So we have like Dr. Phu, maybe Dr. Minh Thanh and Dr. Tai later, because they need to buy a computer or buy a camera and installing. Okay, Dr. Tai, you have bought a computer. Quynh Trang, maybe you have to invest on a new computer, Quynh Trang. Okay, everyone, so I would like to leave the room for Ms. Phượng Linh, please, calling.
Yeah, we are waiting for the questions from the chat box. And I see a lot of Huddersfield University students today also joined the webinar today. So our students, please raise your voice or like type the questions in the chat box, please.
Hi, can I ask a question? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, Huynh.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. So my question, so one of the most difficult things I find in the process of doing research is to actually come up with a research topic, just find that inspiration and, come up with that action plan of what you need to do, how you need to do it. And even when I have a research topic, even when I have that plan in my head or on paper, there's still a bit of, self-doubt about like, is it really feasible? Like, can I really do this? Do I have the ability to do it? Things like that. So, I was wondering if you have any advice to give on this, crucial first step, like, I'm not expecting it to be easy, but like any advice on how to make it a little bit less daunting, less emotionally difficult? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Huy. So Dr. Tien, please have him.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Hui, so hopefully, in your next question, you introduce something so that all the audience here can understand something about you. So, thirdly, of course, yes, you can do a research. However, before doing the research, we need to have some knowledge. If you would like to have someone to help you, for example, to take the course research methodology, if you want to have an in-depth knowledge about the data analysis, so we can have a research about a course, so data analysis. However, if you do not want to do the course, you can do by self-learning, reading books. If you read like maybe 2, 3, or 4 books about the research methodology, you can understand. For my case, mainly I learned from my self-experience from reading books, although I took some courses about the research methodology. And research topic and plan, normally research problem. We have to coming from the research problem if we would like to deal with any problem. For example, in your teaching, you see that, okay, you do your class, they do not seem to be interested in this way to teaching. For example, grammar translation method, in the teaching grammar, this is a research problem. You would like to do that one. If you would like to do in your class for your own benefit, you do the action research. If you would like to publish for other one to understand, if you would like to increase the reliability of your research, and then you do like with some other classes, and you need to have a plan. For example, like we have for example, doing a research, when do the reading, they have the plan for you first, forming the research problem, and then research question and methodology, and so on, so on, so on. I do not have much time, so I would like to leave some more words for Professor Dr. Ngoc or Dr. Thai. Please, if you would like to add anything more.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tien. Huy, I think if you can provide more specific information about your context, and then I think the advice would be clearer for you. Do you want to ask any more questions? Are you feel happy with the answers from Dr. Tien?
Yes, I'm really thank you for the answers. Very informative. Just to add a little bit of context, I am a second year. No, actually, I will be third year as of next Monday. In Gangta University, and a problem is, and I'm majoring in English teaching, and like in my university, there's really not a big focus on research culture, and we sort of, when we do want to do research, we do have the investment with in terms of getting assistance on equipping ourselves with knowledge about research methodology, things like that. We don't really have that kind of support that is available to us. So that's basically how it works. Like, I do have a research idea, but I just there are so many things to learn, so many new concepts that I have to be familiar with, and I'm not that good with numbers or statistics. It's just adds to the problem. So basically, I'm just looking for some reliable resources so I can just self-study, arm myself with more knowledge.
Yeah. I think so, because you are a student from Gangta University, so no way to get direct instructions from our university. But I think Dr. Nguyễn Ngọc Vũ has a very valuable resource. Mr. Vũ, can you again introduce the source for him, please?
Okay. So thank you very much, Hui, for the questions. Now, first thing first, as Ms. Linh has just mentioned, if you come into the course that I introduced earlier in this webinar, Right, in topic 2, what is research? There are several very good reading materials and also my PowerPoint presentation that can give you useful information like what makes a question researchable and developing a research questions. Now, I would say it's important to do some basic training before trying to come up with a research topic. The problem I always have with new students under my supervisions is they tend to come up with a topic that they really care about. Okay, they really like to do something about the topic, but then as Dr. Tien say, okay, without proper training, is it quite likely that your topic or your research question is not researchable? Okay, there are many other things to consider in a research topic, but usually, to have a feasible, researchable research topic, you need to have the treatment, or we call it the independent variable, the outcome of the dependent variable, the research site, and the research participants. You need to be clear about all the 4 components before designing what kinds of research design and what kinds of research instrument you are going to use. So my advice is don't start right away with a research topic. Instead, try to equip yourself with some fundamental understanding of research design and research methodology to make sure that you come up with a question that is researchable later on. Otherwise, you may come up with a research topic that you really like to do, but then you get stuck on the way to finding the answers on the way to doing the investigation. Well, I hope that answers some of the concerns that you raised with the question.
Thank you, Dr. Vũ, for the advice. So I think, so Young-hee, you can gain a lot of information from the research, and then you can register right away to access the materials, right? And we have one more question. That is the questions about the reputable journals from Thanh. And so far, Dr. Tien also gave one, I think that is the website, right, Dr. Tien? Sci-Hub?
Okay, yes. This one is for this is a Crux website. I have to download the page paper into the free, and you can download it in. So we understand that we do not have money to pay for the money. For example, you go into the journal, for example, like Chase or Chase or Elsevier, we had to pay, for example, $30 for one paper. Someone learning luckily, your institution paid for you. You can go to the university and download some journal, but normally the journal is we do not have a rich data. So my experience is that thirdly, go into Google Scholar. You can type the keyword for the topics that you would like to research for. And if you are inexperienced, you can see the citation. If you see that citation, the more, the better. 1,000 citation is much better than 1,000 is math worldwide. 100 is math topic. 10 is reliable. 3 is okay. So you can see the citation. You know that the paper is reliable. You go into the paper. If you cannot download, you can see the ID number of the paper. We can see the DOI number or the link. You open the SCI Hub. I do not give the link because SCI Hub is the link died every 3 months sometimes. So if one link died, they will create another link. You put SCI Hub in the Google searching, and you put the journal ID and the link in that one. You can immediately download it free. And from my personal experience, it's 95.99 successful % to download the paper. You can try. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tien. But I think Dr. Tien just mentioned the way how to download some journals. So I think the question here is quite specifically related to the reputable like journals, like reputation, some a good one. So I think yeah, he is also specialized in translation. So Dr. Thai, can you provide some journals that specialize in translation research?
Yeah, thank you, Colin. It's not easy for us to mention a specific journals about translation. So as I give some ideas in the chat box, just only type the keywords in internet, or even in the other university, we can find some articles about translation. It's not easy for us to find a specific one in translation only. Yeah, so Thanh Nhã, yeah. Please try, and then if you have any difficulty, send me email, and maybe I show you the link to the journals. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Tai. I think one more person can have Thanh Nhã. So, Associate Professor Dr. Tô Minh Thanh, do you have any suggestion for Thanh Nhã about the reputable journals?
Yes. I think that Nhã can contact me by email, and then I will send you some to save time. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Tô Minh Thanh. So, Thanh Nhã, you can directly contact Dr. Tô Minh Thanh for more information. Yes, let's see, we have any other questions here?
Hello everyone, my name is Quynh.
Yep.
And I have a few questions regarding questionnaire. I have a course methodology with Dr. Tien, and I remember that questionnaire is not an easy task at all. So could you please share a few tips to make a good and efficient questionnaire? Can you?
Thank you, Quynh. Yes, the question here is related to some tips or some ways to have an effective questionnaires or successful questionnaire. So, so Dr. Tien, can you have that?
Hello, Quynh. I remember your voice, your face, but I cannot see your face here. I can hear you. Normally, for the designing a research questionnaire, we have a session. Even talking about that one need around 3 hours talking. Even we have a book for the designing research questionnaire. So in that one, the questionnaire, for example, we have to understand about what kind of data. For example, sometimes someone asked me to fill out the questionnaire for them, but I see, okay, they would like to take my name, my phone number, and then my email. For example, I just question why I have to do that one. So for what purpose? They need my personal identity for what? So that's the first one tip we have to avoid. If you do not have any specific purpose, do not take any participant identity, for example, like name, age, for example, age is okay, name, email, phone number, for example. Another one, for example, telling the second one, designing, even for gender, you put it male, female, or another variable, like another category, others. Some student, some context, they would like to claim themselves to be other, not male or female, but some, you cannot apply that one. For example, even for the age, some people, they put in age, for example, less than 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, for what purposes? If you conduct a research for the students, so not many students is coming from 40 to 50 or over 60, so we do not put that one. So depend on the context. So just give me email, Phương, I will send you about the slide around 3 hours talking about designing effective questionnaire and the books how to design effective questionnaire. I hope that you have my email already.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And yeah, can I ask some more?
I think before the next questions, Nhi, I think it's
Yeah.
very useful if you know some tips of like, online questionnaires. It's really useful during this time. So, Dr. Nguyễn Ngọc Vũ, do you have any advice or suggestion for designing online questionnaire?
Regarding online questionnaire, I think it's just the tool or the technology. The most important part is to come up with a reliable questionnaire that consists of good question items. So I would recommend going to Dr. Tien, get his 3 hours or 10 hours, reading materials, and look at the sample questionnaire. And then you can use tools like Google Forms to create a simple questionnaires. Personally, my favorite tool for creating online questionnaire is Cognitive Forms, because it allows you to do much more than Google Forms, and it's actually a professional service too. Now, Thầy Châu, can you give me screen sharing privilege so that I can show some of my materials on the screen to Gia Huy and Phương Nhi? Okay, great. Say, when I'm trying to share my screen, let's see how it goes. Okay, it's working now. So if you go to the quantitative topic of the course, you see a PDF file, how to construct a questionnaire. Sorry, okay, that add 1 or 2 more hours to the reading with Dr. Tien. And then there is a very good videos with 10 good tips for developing a questionnaire. And if you need, a very powerful online platform, a professional one, I would like to introduce this Cognitive Forms. It allows you to build very, sophisticated questionnaire items, and it also allows to establish conditions. Let me show you some of the things that I can do with my questionnaire when using Cognitive Form. The form also allows us to organize conferences. So when the student, when the participants submit, let's say an abstract, it can automatically send email with my signature and with greetings. So very highly customizable. So as you can see, we use this for collecting a wide range of data, and we also use this platform to embed data collection forms into other websites of Tran University. So to make things short, if you are looking for online tool for developing your questionnaire, Google Form is good enough. If you need something more than Google Form, I would recommend exploring Cognitive Form. The free package is good for everybody, and if you want to use some more sophisticated function like having conditions in the form, like automatic response for participants, then you need to upgrade your account. It will be $20 per year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Vũ. So Ngoc, hello. Yeah, so I think you can listen to the answers very well, is it right? And we are ready to listen to the next questions from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answers. And the next question is, can I use multiple types of questions in my questionnaire? For example, I am doing the research on perception of students regarding to intonation, for example, and I would like to have the survey or questionnaire form for students. And some of the first questions I need to explore more about their understanding about like intonation, and I use the scale 4 point. And the rest I would use multiple choice questions. Is that feasible?
Dr. Tien, can you hear the questions?
Huynh,
Yes.
can
Is
you
it
repeat the
feasible to
question?
use multiple, like different types of questions in the same questionnaire?
Yes, of course, Nhi. For example, like for male, female, for the that item, you can use like two category, male and female, and then you use another one for another type of question, another group of the items. You can use like Likert type scale. Even Likert type scale, we have tens of type Likert scale. For example, if you would like to do is like agree or not agree, you can use a very strongly agree, slightly agree, neither agree nor disagree, and then the other one you can use for the level of the, like for example, like just only for the level of like frequency, never, seldom, sometimes, very much, always, for example. And again, let me know. I'm looking for the link for you to download some about like Likert type scale, and you can apply for that one. And the answer, sure, you can use various scales in one research questionnaire, depend on the question, the research item, the questionnaire item.
Thank you, Dr. Tien. And Nhi, yeah, you feel satisfied with the answers?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I one more question. Is that okay?
Right. Yeah, just go ahead, please.
Okay, I would like to ask about the trap question. To make sure that our participants doing the survey seriously. So, as I remember, they told us that we need to have some kind of trap questions, right? But I still wonder how to make it efficient and effectively.
Yes, we have another question. Sorry, Dr. Vũ, Dr. Minh, and Dr. Tai, and then Colin. Top question, because the question is from me. Top question is very important in the survey questionnaire. Because, like, for example, one, I distribute the questionnaire to the learner, to the student. They do not have a time, they do it not carefully, and they should like tweak fall from the beginning to the end. They should make it 5, 1, 3. For example, that one. We have no evidence to see that they are doing very carefully or very carelessly, or working seriously or not seriously. That's why we have to use the top question. Top question is the first way of screening your data. One, you get the questionnaire back and look at some of the top question. If you see that, okay, they work on the questionnaires like seriously, we can accept that one. If we see that like the research informant, they work like not seriously, so that we can throw it away. Top question is very easy. One meaning, one item, but you change it oppositely. For example, like in one sentence, in one, for example, telling about learning program at Washington University, I made a question. I feel that the learning program at Washington University is practical to the learner. And in another one, I change it into the negative. For example, like I found that the learning program at Washington University is not reliable. And for example, it's unreliable. So we have like the same meaning, but two ways of expressing. if student like strongly agree in one item, they have to disagree on another item. If they pick like strongly agree on both negative, positive, so they fall into the top question, we understand that they did not read the question item carefully. And in one survey questionnaire, you put it around 2, 3, 4, do not make it more. The maximum normally from my experience is 4, the minimum is 2. Top question, if you see that like they work is like not seriously, you throw it away. And before inputting into the computer, you have to transform. You have need to another techniques, because like the negative, you have to transfer into the positive before inputting into the program, because the program cannot understand the negative meaning. Hello, Phương.
Yeah. Phương, can you hear the answers?
Yeah, I heard it very clearly. Yeah.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Tien, and thank you, Phương, for your questions. So we go to another questions related to plagiarisms. Đinh Đạt Phát, a student at Saigon University, he has the questions like how to write literature review without plagiarizing.
I think maybe MC. Most Phương Linh, very experienced and very talented teacher at our university, and very famous one. She got scholarship, big scholarship, and got her educated in like one of the best university in the world in England. So, most Phương Linh, can you answer the question?
Yes, for this, I think this is the concerns of like most of the students, especially Russian university students. Plagiarism is really like a problem. So to support the students to avoid plagiarism, so we have a very useful course that's like critical reading and writing to teach our students like what is plagiarism first. We need to understand what is plagiarism, and also like learn some useful ways, and especially learn about like how to cite, how to quote, what like direct or indirect quotation or citation. And we learned these rules of citing in writing for in-text citation or for references. If the learners can paraphrase and cite the source, and I think like if you cite the source and then we don't plagiarize at all, but we need to understand because it has a lot of rules and regulations. So we have to learn about the regulation so that we avoid plagiarism. You can read a lot of materials. You can use a lot of others articles into your research. But the most important thing, whenever you use, you have to cite. That is the most important thing from my experience. Yep. So any others presenters, you have any experience, and then you can share. Because like Russian University, we have like a tool to check plagiarisms. Turnitin. That is a very useful tool to help our learners, our students. If they check Turnitin, and if the similarity index is high, and then they have to rewrite or paraphrase to avoid such kind of things.
Excuse me, as Phương Linh has just mentioned, I'd like to highlight the fact that you do not need to apply direct quotations all the time. You are supposed to learn a variety of ways to paraphrase what you are supposed to write in your literature review. The power of paraphrasing is reducing the number of words used in your own literature review. Probably you need only one paragraph to say about the whole text of an author, and that's all. In short, you are supposed to learn how to paraphrase correctly, and that's it. Thank you.
Yes, that's right, Dr. Minh. Yeah, can't agree with you more. That is like as learners, we have to learn how to paraphrase. That is a very important skill in writing literature review and also like to do research. All right. So that is like the questions from Fat. I think we have like two more questions here from Phạm Huỳnh Minh Thảo. The first one here, when deciding the research questions or writing the literature review, I tend to try to as much as I can before starting. Then I usually get overwhelmed by all the related material that I read. Are there any tips on choosing and combining relevant information to mention in my research? That is the first one. I think, Dr. Tien, you have a very good tips how to organize the materials when students read a lot of materials and how to organize it. And it's easier for students to synthesize and analyze the data later. I think Dr. Tien will deal with these questions. I go to the next one. If I plan to do research with young learners and obviously they are not able to do questionnaires or interviews, are there any methods in data collecting that you recommend for this group of participants? Yeah, so one question is related to materials collections and organization. And the next one is the what are methods to collect data from young learners?
We have a Dr. Nguyễn Ngọc Vũ. Hello, thầy Vũ. Can you possibly give any
He's not on screen, so I'm not sure that. Dr. Vũ, are you here?
Okay, I'm on. Just give me the stage. Can to the main speaker.
Okay, so I'm going to answer one question and another one, like Dr. Wu needs some time to plan. I would like to go into the first question, for example. The first question, like why doing the reading? Normally we do the reading and then we get overwhelmed and we do not know like what kind of information we will select. And that's the way of like synthesizing techniques. So normally for me, I face the same problem while I was doing my master thesis long time ago. And I'm looking and searching for the way, and then I'm looking for the ways in the matrix. Firstly, I have two ways. The first one is reading, and I open the Word, in the Word sheet, I divide it into two columns. One is original one, and one is like paraphrase one. So while doing, I try to copy the original source, and I put like the identity of the paper, like the journal, the name, every information enough for the writing references. And doing the reading, for example, for the archives, I put on the left-hand side. And immediately, I paraphrase in the right-hand side. I put the citation immediately. That's the first way for working. So reading and paraphrasing at the same time with enough information and put in the citation, in-text citation and references immediately. And then you match on the paraphrase sources and then you put in the category. For example, in the theming, this one is for methodology. This one is like, for example, telling about the topic, like, for example, like teaching methodology. This one is for A, this another one is category B. And then you rough or match them together, organize them together, and then you add some more information. So reading, paraphrasing immediately, that's the way to save time. Another way is that for synthesizing sources. So for example, idea number one, and you put in a matrix in Excel, and you can see that, okay, telling about, for example, like differences between male and females in language learning or ages. So one author see that like children should learn the language as soon as possible from the age of number 3. Some other agree, some other think that like critical periods is very important for the second language acquisition. Other one that, okay, critical periods is just for only native speaker, not for the foreign language learning. And you should put all the idea related or relevant to the topic, and then you make a summary for all the sources, all the information you have. So you have one paragraph of yours, and you can avoid the plagiarism. So maybe like Thầy Vũ and Colin can share some more idea.
Actually, like the tips that I learned also from Dr. Tien, that is we organize the information into a table with a lot of columns. So the first column is the name or the title of the article. The next column is like the authors. The next one is like direct quotation, and then the next one is like the paraphrase of the direct quotation, and then like what is it about. And then when we sort the information, you can easily, if this is the definition of something, for example, and then when you sort to the information, you will see like a lot of paraphrases related to that point. And then you can like start to write about that topic. That is what I learned from Dr. Tien, and I think it's very useful for me. So I think that is for the first questions. We don't have much time, so I will move to the next questions. The next question is related to how to collect data when our participants are young learners. Sorry, Dr. Nguyễn, do you have any suggestions or any advice?
Sure. But just before going to this question, I just like to add that I totally understand the feeling of being overwhelmed when we look at some of the published paper, or when we look at some of the journals and say, oh my God, how can we do things like this? Now, believe me, we were all like you, when we started. And this is what you need to keep in mind. Research is a skill, and it takes years to go up in the level. After many years into the research of this field, I myself still do not know a lot of research designs in the other field. And to tell you the truth, when I use SPSS, I just know about around 20 statistic procedures, while there are still many others in SPSS that I myself do not know. So 1,000 miles start with a single first step. I would recommend you to try to spend time on research, and little by little, every month, every year. After several years, you will start to see your skills improve and things get easier. I think there is no shortcut to this. Now, going to the second questions about collecting data from young learners. Oh yes, I agree. It's hard to ask kindergarten students or primary school students to answer questionnaires on, to have interview with them. Normally, with young learner, we would recommend using classroom observation techniques. For example, you like to see whether using interactive whiteboards in language classroom for young children work. And put a hidden camera in the class. Make sure you get permission from the school administrators, or you can ask another teacher, or you can be the observer yourself. Try to observe the interaction of the students, the class atmosphere in the pre, while, post stages, and there are actually guidelines or metrics for you to do these kinds of observations. And I think classroom observation is also very useful in a range of other situations, not only for collecting data from young learners. And we can also collect artifacts from students. Like if you are giving them some learning tasks, collect their writings, collect their diary or their journals. They are also considered good data in language education too. Well, that was some of my recommendations. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Thầy Vũ. So the secretary had just noticed me that it's more than 2 hours already. Okay, We still have some more questions, but I think just very quick to answer just one more questions. That is the questions related to translations of the questionnaire. How can we translate? Because like we know that like we have to conduct the questionnaires both like in Vietnamese and English to have like the participants understand the questions more clearly. So how can we assure that like the English versions and Vietnamese versions are reliable or acceptable? So I think this is the last questions of our webinar today. So Dr. Tien, you have any ideas about this one?
Yes. So before moving there, I'm not so sure that Thầy Dương, so he has a very good resources for translational studies. Hello, Thầy Dương, can you be on giving some advices for the translational study? We have very good resources for the researching and some experiences in translational researching, Thầy Dương. So while we're waiting for Thầy Dương, so we're thinking about like translation, right, for the research questionnaire.
Yeah, no, just like the versions of the questionnaires, like of course when we write in English, but when we deliver the questionnaire to participants, it should be in Vietnamese.
Yeah,
How
sorry.
can we, yes, we reassure like the with Vietnamese version and English version, they have the same quality and yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Ngoc is correct. Yeah, Corpus Linguistics is correct because he doesn't ask about the way to translate, but the way to understand, as Minh said, the reliability of using translated version. Yeah, so I think that we have better use a paraphrase Minh, because if we give the direct translated version, maybe it's not easy for the participant to understand us. So beside the translated version, we apply paraphrase techniques to make clear to the readers. This is just only my suggestion.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tai. For me, I have like I experienced something. I think I share with you now. So when I ask my student to translate, and how can we know that is like the good one? Usually, we do the pilot steps. That is very important to pilot, both like the Vietnamese version and both like English. So we can ask for some like experts. Like I usually concerns Dr. Tien or some others like experts in our like department. So you can ask some experts to have you to review, and also you use like Vietnamese questionnaire version to pilot on like participants, and you can compare. I think like at that time when they understand the Vietnamese version thoroughly, and I think at that time it will be fine.
Okay, thank you. I would like to add a little bit point. Thank you. Mostly is very correct. Wonderful. So another thing that we are indicating about the validity of the questionnaire. So you go to the book, you type validity. So we have a contract validity, for example. So you can look very famous, some famous questionnaire, whether we have the same contracts, look similar to them or not. We cannot copy. Copy is like we violate plagiarism or like ethical issues in doing the researching. But like designing the questionnaire, we come from like for designing the questionnaire, we have some like unexpected noise. Designing the questionnaire, so normally we have to coming from interval, pilot study, coming from theories, coming from a literature review. Design it, we copy, we prepare in English, and then we translate. And then we move to another one, is content validity. For the content validity, thirdly, you ask for experts in the field to check for you and ask the informant you would like to do the research on the learner. So ask the learner whether they understand well the question or not. If they understand well, and try to avoid two content in one item. For example, like I would like to ask a question, are you happy? And for example, like feeling grateful with your university. So we have two items, happy and grateful. This is like a mistake in designing the questionnaire. So sometimes I'm happy, but I'm not grateful because I paid the money. Sometimes I bought, for example, sometimes neither. So that's the way we have to avoid in designing questionnaire. Hopefully, you can get the point.
Yes, so I think we should end now because like the time is over already. So like thank you everyone. Thank you the key presenters, Dr. Nguyễn Ngọc Vũ, Dr. Tô Minh Thanh, Dr. Huỳnh Văn Tài, Dr. Trần Ngọc Tien, and Miss Quỳnh Trang for like presenting very useful information for us today. And thank you all of the participants for joining the webinar today. And I think we still have some more questions, but because like time limitation, so we are going to consider like organize more webinar related to research tools and research methods. Dr. Tien, you can like collect the topic from this webinar so that we can organize more webinars for our participants. So thank you everyone for joining the webinar today.
So firstly, I would like to thank all the participants of the webinar today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your question. So your question, your attention like inspired. Maybe we are going to organize another one. So maybe next time we are organizing on like research design or some other one more specific only so that you can get information. And again, I would like to thank the moderator, the MC for today, very talented and very beautiful lady. Okay, thank you very much all and all the presenters.